Hello, BookTube. At the beginning of August, Book People, the great bookstore in Austin, Texas, had a special book sale for rewards members, of which I am one. I took advantage of this sale and ordered 8 books. All but one are works in translation because at the beginning of the month I was very much interested in wanting to add more novels in translation to my collection. So let's get started. So the lone work that is not in translation is Helen of Nowhere by Makenna Goodman. In the middle of the countryside, a realtor is showing a disgraced professor around an idyllic house. She speaks not only about the home's many wonderful qualities, but about its previous owner, the mystifying Helen, whose presence still seems to suffuse every fixture. Through hearing stories of Helen's chosen way of living, the man begins to see that his own story is not actually over. Rather, he is being offered a chance to buy his way into the simple life, close to the land that's always been out of reach to him. But as evening fades into black, he will learn that the asking price may be much higher and stranger than anticipated. Philosophically and formally adventurous, at once intimate and cosmic in scope, Helen of Nowhere asks, "What must we give up in exchange for true happiness?" So I have so far heard rather mixed things about Helen of Nowhere, so we shall see what I think of the book, because I think I will give this novel a go for Shorty September, because it is a very, very short book. So on to the works in translation, starting with works translated from the Japanese. First up is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, translated from the Japanese by Ginny Takemori. An international sensation that has sold more than 1 million copies in Japan and was named a Best Book of the Year by U.S. publications from BuzzFeed to The New Yorker, Convenience Store Woman is the charming and unforgettable story of Tokyo sales clerk Keiko Furukura. Keiko is an unusual person, someone who has never fit in. But when she takes a job at a Smile Mart, she finally finds peace and purpose in her daily tasks. But there is huge pressure on Keiko to pursue a career, to find a husband, and she feels forced to take desperate action in order to please the people around her instead of herself. Is there room in this normal world for someone as strange as Keiko? We shall see. Also translated from the Japanese is the Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami. Translated from the Japanese by Allison, Markin, Powell. Objects for sale at the Nakano Thrift Shop appear as commonplace as the staff and customers that handle them. But like those same customers and staff, they hold many secrets. If observed more closely, they show the signs of innumerable extravagancies, of immeasurable pleasure and pain, of the deep mysteries of the human heart. With a cast of delightfully offbeat characters, the Nakano Thrift Shop is a generous-hearted portrayal of human relationships by one of Japan's most beloved authors. So, moving on to this year's Booker International Booker Prize long list. I have The Deserters by Mathias Enard, translated from the French by Charlotte Mandell. A filthy and exhausted soldier emerges from the Mediterranean wilderness. He is fleeing an unspecified war, trying to escape the incessant violence and find refuge in solitude. But a chance encounter with a civilian forces him to make a difficult decision. On September 11, 2001, Aboard a small cruise ship, a scientific conference is honoring the East German mathematician Paul Hudeber, a committed communist and anti-fascist, and a survivor of Buchenwald. As these two narrative threads weave and develop, Mathias Enard's dazzling erudite prose vividly illuminates the devastations of war. Brilliantly translated by Charlotte Mandell, The Deserters is a triumphant novel that balances the weight of love and politics, loyalty and belief, hope and survival. And also candidate for Shorty September. I don't think this was nominated for anything. But also picked up The Maniac by Benjamin Labatut, translated from the Spanish by Okay. My apologies. But, okay. Maybe the translator's name is... Okay. My apologies, I am not finding the translator of this novel. Okay, maybe let's go back to the... Okay. Okay, so there's his biography. And then a bunch of blurbs. Okay, I am not finding the translator. So while I am uploading this video, I will find out who the translator is and put it in the show notes down below. But it will be translated from the Spanish because Benjamin Labatut is a Chilean writer. Oh, but before I do anything else, I do need to read the back of the book. Don't I? From one of contemporary literature's most exciting new voices, a haunting story centered on the Hungarian polymath John von Neumann, tracing the impact of his singular legacy on the dreams and nightmares of the 20th century and the nascent age of AI. Benjamin Labatut's When We Cease to Understand the World electrified a global readership, a Booker Prize and National Book Award finalist, and one of the New York Times 10 best books of the year. It explored the life and thought of a clutch of mathematicians and physicists who took science to strange and sometimes dangerous new realms. In The Maniac, Labatut has created a tour de force on an even grander scale. A prodigy whose gifts terrified the people around him, John von Neumann transformed every field he touched, inventing game theory and the first programmable computer, and pioneering AI, digital life, and cellular automata. Through a chorus of family members, friends, colleagues, and rivals, Labatut shows us the evolution of a mind unmatched and a body of work that has unmoored the world in its wake. The Maniac places von Neumann at the center of a literary triptych that begins with Paul Ehrenfest, an Austrian physicist and friend of Einstein, who fell into despair when he saw science and technology become tyrannical forces. It ends 100 years later, in the showdown between the South Korean Go Master Lee Sedol and the AI program AlphaGo, an encounter embodying the central question of von Neumann's most ambitious unfinished project, the creation of a reproducing machine, an intelligence able to evolve beyond human understanding or control. A work of beauty and fabulous momentum, the Maniac confronts us with the deepest questions we face as a species. So, the next three books are by Nobel Prize winners. First up is The Feast of the Goat by Mario Vargas Llosa, translated from the Spanish by Edith Grossman. This is how it should be done. You should not have to hunt down the name of the translator. Anyway, haunted all her life by feelings of terror and emptiness, 49-year-old Urania Cabral returns to her native Dominican Republic and finds herself reliving the events of 1961, when the capital was still called Trujillo City and one old man terrorized the nation of 3 million. Rafael Trujillo, the depraved ailing dictator whom Dominicans call the Goat, controls his inner circle with a combination of violence and blackmail. But there is a conspiracy against him, and a Machiavellian revolution already underway that will have bloody consequences of its own. In this masterpiece of Latin American and world literature, Mario Vargas Llosa recounts the end of a regime and the birth of a terrible democracy, giving voice to the historical Trujillo and the victims, both innocent and complicit, drawn into his deadly orbit. Next is The Land of Green Plums by Herta Muller, translated from the German by Michael Hofmann. Okay, so there is no blurb, so I will read, or synopsis, so I will read two blurbs. First, from the New York Times. Unflinching, Miss Muller's vision of a police state manned by plum thieves reads like a kind of fairy tale on the mingled evils of gluttony, stupidity, and brutality. Muller has triumphed in her honesty, and The Land of Green Plums is her testimony. Describes in precisely hewn detail what it was like to live in Romania under communism, from the Washington Post. And finally, Septology by Jan Fosse, translated from the Norwegian by Damion Searls. What makes us who we are, and why do we lead one life and not another? Assel, an aging painter and widower who lives alone on the southwest coast of Norway, is reminiscing about his life. His only friends are his neighbor, Esselek, a traditional fisherman farmer, and Bear, a gallerist who lives in the city. There in Buren lives another Assel, who also a painter, but lonely and consumed by alcohol. Assel and Assel are doppelgangers, two versions of the same person, two versions of the same life, both grappling with existential questions about death, love, light and shadow, faith and hopelessness. The 3 volumes of Jan Fosse's Septology, The Other Name, I Is Another, and A New Name are a transcendent exploration of the human condition and a radically other reading experience, incantatory, hypnotic, and utterly unique. So, to do a steep pyramid, and Septology by Jan Fosse, translated from the Norwegian by Damion Searls. The Land of Green Plums by Herta Muller, translated from the German by Michael Hofmann. The Feast of the Goat by Mario Vargas Llosa, translated from the Spanish by Edith Grossman. The Maniac by Benjamin Labatut, translated so far by Unknown, but I will place the translator in the show notes down below. The Deserter by Mathias Enard, translated by Charlotte Mandell. The Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami, translated from the Japanese, translated by Allison Powell. Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, translated by Ginny Tapley Takemori. And Helen of Nowhere by Makenna Grace. Anyway, BookTube, I'm going to go ahead and start uploading this video, find out who translated The Maniac, to let you know who translated The Maniac, and then I will put these books on the shelves behind me. Until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you and have a great afternoon.